Maya, vedo tutto ciò che sei.
Fila.
Non temere.
This Marvel show has more darkness in it. How did you approach this aspect with the actors during shooting?
That's a great question. I think for me, when I first came on the project, like one of the things that was the most interesting to me about the Maya Lopez character was that she was a villain. She's introduced in Hawkeye, and so when Marvel and I were first talking, I said that's the most interesting to me. That's the most interesting thing about her. She's, it allows us to explore like these different shades of gray, like character motivations, so on and so forth. And Marvel's response to all of that was lean into that. Let's lean into that. Let's explore that. And so first and foremost, it stemmed from character, from story, but then that allowed us to tell a story that was a little more grounded, a little more gritty, a little more street level, and also a little more violent, but that's also the point, we wanted to show that in our show, in our series, characters bleed, characters get hurt, characters die. There are real human consequences to our world and to our characters and the stakes, but hopefully that makes the stakes even higher.
Yeah, I agree. One thing that hit me is the going back and forward from the point of view of other characters who can hear and Maya's point of view. For her, the word is always silent. How did you manage that aspect?
Yeah, it was interesting. I would say we arrived on what we refer to as, there are moments in the series where we go into Maya's perspective, and what we call it is the deaf POV. Sound drops out. We only hear or feel specific things that are hopefully authentic to the deaf experience. And, that was something that was not planned from the beginning. That was something that came about organically through our process, much like our portrayal of ASL, right, of American Sign Language. And I think it all stems from representation, right? So to us, that was an absolute must. We had to have deaf writers in the writers' room. We had to have deaf consultants behind the scenes. We had to make sure that our deaf actors were actually deaf. Our indigenous actors had to actually be indigenous. A radical concept, I know. But one of the great things that came about that is, as we started prepping on the project, myself, my department heads, we all took ASL classes. And one of the great things that I learned is that when we speak and we communicate, like I'm talking to you, I'm vocalizing with my voice, and the words coming out of my mouth are the text. The way that I'm delivering those words is the subtext, right? And so, but in ASL, it's slightly different in that because you're not vocalizing, the signing, that's the text. The face and the facial expressions, that's the subtext. So in order to get the full emotional sort of like context of what's being communicated, that meant that this became a close-up in our show. So this is a close-up, so you can see the face and the signing. And because this and this is a close-up for Maya Lopez, that means that everyone else gets that same close-up, right? So in that case, it actually ended up dictating our entire visual style for the whole series, and I was so happy with the result.
Interviewed Jessica Gao for the finale of She-Hulk. She told me about the responsibility for bringing back Daredevil into the MCU. Did you feel that too, and for Kingpin too, while we wait for Daredevil Born Again?
No, it was, I think it's, like dealing with characters that prominent, it's always, you have a responsibility to the MCU fans, and you want to do them justice, but at the same time, they should also serve the story, and it should also be, it had to be a part of Echo, and so all roads had to lead to that and from that. And so that was always our motivation. And if we couldn't find a way to do that and tell that story, we would have found a different way to do that.
Yeah, yeah. It's always Maya's story at the end.
Yeah.
Chi è il mostro?